king. He was a monarch. Stop laughing at me. Of the House of Bourbon, who ruled, King of France. We're still going from 1643 until his death. His reign of 72 years and 110 days is the longest of any monarch of a major country in European history. Louis began his personal rule in France in 1661 after the death of his chef minister, the Italian Cardinal Mazarin, I don't know, and the concept of the divine rights of kings, which advocates the divine origin of the monarch rule. Louis continued his work of creating centralized state governed from the capital. He sought to eliminate the persisting in parts of France by, I'll show a picture here. Here he is.
Oh, you're done.
Okay, but we had a malfunction. Continue.
Malfunction, sorry. Intermission.
And
Upon his death, just days before his 17th birthday, Louis was succeeded by his
are they going to
5-year-old
have to sign a release form?
great-grandson. All of his intermediates preceded him in the early years. You get some of that. Louis was born on the 5th of September, 1638. I was actually born on September 29th, though. My name is Louis. September, that's the month for Louis. Nature was responsible for most knots, which were tied by his mother, but attached from later shared qualities in the spirit were far more difficult to break, nearly blood.
Good now.
It was his mother who gave Louis' first belief in absolute divine power.
Abolished the Urgency Council and made Anne sole regent of France. Anne exiled some of her husband's ministers, and she nominated Brien as her minister for foreign affairs. She also nominated Saint Vincent de Paul as her spiritual advisor, which helped her deal with religious policy and Jansenism questions, and kept the direction of religious policy strongly in her hand until 1661. The most important political decision were to nominate Cardinal Mazarin as her chief minister, and her decision to continue her husband's policy in spite of their persecution of her for sake of her son, and wanted to give her son an absolute authority in Victoria's kingdom. Her choice of Mazarin was mainly because of his ability and his total dependence on her, at least until 1653, when she was no longer regent. Anne protected Mazarin by arresting and exiling her followers who conspired against him in 1643. Duke of Belfort and Mary de Rohan, she left the direction of the daily administration of policy to her Cardinal Mazarin. The best example of Anne's statesmanship and partial change in her heart towards her company of birth, Spain, is seen her keeping one of the men and Councillor of France, Pierre Seguier, and his post. Seguier was the person who was inaugurated, and in 1637, treating her like a common criminal as she was herself described.
Declared of age in 1654. On the death of Mazarin in March 1661, Louis assumed personal control of the reins of government and astonished his court by declaring that he would rule without a chief minister. Up to this moment, I have been pleased to entrust the government of my affairs to the late cardinal. It is now time that I govern them myself. You will assist me with your counsels when I ask for them. I request and order you to seal no orders except by my command. I order you not to sign anything, not even a passport, without my command, to render account to me personally each day and favor no one. Louis was able to capitalize on the widespread public yearning for law and order that resulted from prolonged foreign wars and domestic civil strife to further consolidate central political authority and reform at the expense of the federal aristocracy. Praising his ability to choose and encourage men of talent, the historian Chateaubriand noted that it is the voice of genius of all kinds which sounds from the tomb of Louis. Louis began his personal reign in administrative and fiscal reforms. In 1661, the Treasury verged on bankruptcy. To rectify the situation, Louis chose Jean-Baptiste Colbert as Controller General of Finances in 1665. However, Louis had to neutralize Nicolas Fouquet, the Superintendent of Finances, in order to give Colbert a free hand. Although Fouquet's financial and something were not really very different from Mazarin before him or Colbert after him, his ambition was worrying to Louis. He had, for example, built an opulent chateau at
Louis and his wife, Maria Theresa of Spain, had 6 children from the marriage contracted for them in 1660. However, only one child, the eldest, survived to adulthood. Maria Theresa died in 1683, where Louis remarked that she had never caused him unease or any other occasion. Is that a wink? Despite evidence of affection early on in their marriage, Louis was never faithful to Maria Theresa. He took a series of mistresses, both official and unofficial. Louis provided relatively more faithful to his second wife, Francois de Aubigny. Francois. He first met her through her working caring for his children by Madame de Montespan, noting the care he gave to his favorite, Louis Auguste, Duke of Maine. He was at first put off by her strict religious practice, but warmed to her through the care for his children. When he legitimized his children by Madame de Montespan on the 20th of December, 1673, Francois became the royal governess at Saint-Germain. As governess, she was one of the very few people who were permitted to speak to him as an equal without limits. It is believed that they were married secretly at Versailles.
Over his lifetime, Louis commissioned numerous works of art to portray himself. Among them, over 300 formal portraits. The earliest portrayals of Louis already followed the pictorial conventions of the day in depicting the child king as the majesty royal incarnation of France. The idealization of the monarch continued in later works, which avoided depictions of the effect of the smallpox that Louis contracted in 1647. In the 1660s, Louis began to be shown as a Roman emperor, the god Apollo, or Alexander the Great, as can be seen in many works of Charles Le Brun, such as sculpture, paintings, and the decor of major monuments. The depiction of the king and his manner focused on allegorical or mythological attributes, instead of attempting to produce a true likeness. As Louis aged, so too did the manner in which he was depicted. Nonetheless, there was still a disparity between realistic representation and the demands of royal propaganda. There is no better illustration of this than...
He asked you. No, it was his. Took my charger. Copped it.
Is it still going?
Sorry.
Rigaud's portrait exemplified the height of royal portraiture in Louis's reign. Although Rigaud crafted a credible likeness of Louis, the portrait was neither meant as an exercise in realism nor to explore Louis's personal character. Certainly, Rigaud was concerned with the detail and depicted the king's costume with great precision. down to his shoe buckle. However, Rigaud's intention was to glorify the monarchy.
1643. Louis XIV died. Queen Anne at her husband's will annulled by Parliament de Paris. Oh my God. Judicial.
It's not that funny.
Only 20 seconds in.
It's not that funny.
Judicial body cover.
It's not that funny.
I can't do this. Get out of my face.